We have some more fighters coming. Saddam Ali, Yemen background from New York, is making his way into the ring right now at the Gaylord Hotel.
This is Saddam Ali's last fight against Jesse Vargas. This was for the vacant WBO welterweight title. It took place in March of this year in Washington, D.C. Hotly contested bout. It was the boxer against the stalking boxer-puncher. And Ali was doing very well until those overhand rights began to connect. This knockdown was the beginning of the end for Ali. Got up, it showed so much heart, lasted a few more rounds, but really that first knockdown spelled the beginning of the end for Saddam Ali. In his first loss, he doesn't look like he's taking the loss hard. Looks to be in very good spirits as he makes his way to the ring. And this is a very important step in his comeback. Still young, still considered a 147-pound contender, but he really needs to get back in there, get back on the horse, and be active.
I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks of Saddam Ali's career, is that there have been years where he'd only fought twice. In 2015, he only fought once. I have to wonder if that was a factor going into his title shot against Jesse Vargas.
And Saddam Ali is a fighter, an Olympian. The inactivity, though, Doug, because when you see these Olympians coming through, and Ali is a little bit older than the normal Olympians, but you see him, you want to get him fast track, you want to get him in there, but there were setbacks, whether it was an opponent falling out or the inactivity. You can't have that, and we saw it that night against Jesse Vargas.
Yeah, I'll say I think part of the problem with Ali is when he turned pro, he had ambitions of sort of being his own promoter.
Yep.
And I think he learned after a few years, no, you know what? You need to sign with a solid promotional company that's going to keep you active. Activity is so key. And it's funny. I actually forgot that he was a U.S. Olympian. I forgot.
Yeah.
He made the 2008
Yes, he did.
Olympic. I totally forgot about it.
One of the factors of his inactivity, coming into that fight with Jesse Vargas, he was on a nice run, scoring solid victories over Francisco Santana and a pretty highly regarded Louis Abregu. But with the WBO welterweight situation where Tim Bradley didn't understand or didn't have a real definitive plan at that point, whether he was going to defend the title, then he got the Manny Pacquiao fight, and then Paco Valcarcel of the WBO had a problem. He had already mandated that Saddam Ali, I guess, was going to be the mandatory challenger. Well, once Bradley got the Pacquiao fight, well, let me tell you one thing. Belts are important. They're not as important as $4.5–5 million guarantees. So that actually backed up the process of the vacant WBO title, and then Jesse Vargas stepped in Bradley's place. That's why that fight took so long to be consummated.
Saddam Ali, Brooklyn, New York, 22-1, 13 KOs. He takes on veteran Saul Corral from Agua Prieta, Mexico, 21-7. And Doug, that fight for Saddam Ali against Jesse Vargas was an interesting one because a lot of people had Ali winning up until that stoppage.
I thought it was nip and tuck. I thought both guys were employing their particular styles very well, and I thought it was up for grabs until that overhand right crashed on the side of his head, and from that point on, Vargas took over.
Saddam Ali has always reminded me a little bit of Amir Khan. Very fast, quick, good skills, but punch resistance I think is a little bit below average. I think in that fight, Doug, first 5 rounds I thought he had built the lead, but from rounds 5, 6, 7 on, I thought he had problems more and more stopping that overhand right of Jesse Vargas. And I think Vargas figured out one thing. Although he's not a great puncher, he was the better puncher on that night, and I thought he hit through Saddam Ali.
Well, he had the better timing, and part of that is, we go back to it, activity.
Yeah.
Vargas was coming off, 12 rounds with Timothy Bradley. That was a huge confidence booster for him. Stepped up to sort of the elite level, so he had great confidence, but he also had those 12 rounds, recent 12 rounds, under his belt going into this huge opportunity. And I like the comparisons to Amir Khan. I would say Amir Khan, faster, flashier, maybe a little bit more pop on the end of his punches. Saddam Ali, technically more sound, I think, than Amir Khan, which should speak well to his future.
And in the background there is his trainer, Andre Rozier, best known for being the corner man of one Danny Jacobs.
That's right, there he is. Keep using the hashtag RingTV. just like Sal817 is using it. Sal is inside the building taking pictures of us, tweeting us using the Ring TV. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Sal.
That's what happens when you watch the day before.
Yes.
You learn. We are instructing the boxing fan. Also, LA boxing fan, good friend of mine, taking care of the CHP in Southern California. He is not working today, so we're good. If you ever need anything CHP related, Dougie,
Okay.
he will not set it up. But he does a great job with the department and also in the community outreach and going actually to every single Belasco show. He can get out there. He says it's going to be a good weekend of boxing, and it will. It'll start at 2:30 on ringtv.com. Doug, Steve, and myself will be there on the broadcast, and I'm really excited to see this Anthony Yard fellow we just talked about, especially when he says that he loves Mexican broadcasters. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. But he was smooth the way he talked with us, wasn't he? He has that calm confidence about him.
Generally speaking, your British fighters are they do really well in it. Your British and Irish fighters, they're always a good interview. Very thoughtful, very genuine. That also comes across very well.
You know, I think Yard could do much worse.
Yard,
than
it's just Yard.
Yard.
Yep.
Okay.
That's our lad. He taught us how to say his
Yeah,
name.
you know, the interesting thing about him being with Frank Warren may not be the biggest promoter in Britain currently. I think that designation has to be given to Eddie Hearn in Matchroom Boxing. But you look at Warren's history developing Joe Calzaghe, Ricky Hatton, Prince Nassim Hamed. And I believe he was one of the promoters for the Nigel Benn fight against Gerald McClellan. This guy knows how to develop a young prize fighter.
Absolutely.
Saddam Ali turned pro in 2009 after the Olympics, and you were mentioning, Doug, how he wanted to be his own promoter. It wasn't until 2013 when he signed on with Golden Boy Promotions. And the tape done right there.
Boxing is a tough business to do it all on your own. There have been very few fighters who could do that from their pro debut. I think
One guy.
Sugar Ray Leonard is the only one I can think of.
Sugar Ray Leonard had Mike Traynor, the high-priced attorney out of D.C. And again, a different time and circumstance. Ray Leonard came out of the 76 games a microwavable star and was basically given...
He was already a household name.
Right, and so it's much different. I remember a lot of Saddam Ali's fights from 2009 to about 2011 actually fought under the main events banner a little bit. Now, here's the difference between being a promoter at a certain level like Oscar was at the end of his career. When you're doing one or two big events, that's different. Now, if you're a young fighter and you need to fight 5, 6, 7, 8 times a year, Doug, there's no mom and pop operation in boxing outside of like a club promoter that actually has the wherewithal or the infrastructure to do such a thing so often.
Well, look at the LA Fight Club that Golden Boy Promotions puts on the first Friday of every single month. Just to get 8 fights is hard, especially because you have some of the younger kids who all of a sudden their opponent doesn't get on the plane to show up. And then they do it 2 weeks later at the Fancy Springs Resort and Casino. So our digital team has to break down and get ready. It's clockwork. I can't even imagine doing that as a pro fighter.
What people don't know about this glamorous world of professional boxing, I think the toughest job, and the one that you couldn't wish on me, is matchmaker. Because I got to tell you, there's so many times I will call, whether it's Brad Goodman at Top Rank, Jolene Mazzone at Main Events, and of course Robert Diaz here at Golden Boy. Sometimes you just want to ask them a general question a day or two before the fight for a story, Doug. And these guys sound like they're in the emergency room or about to have a heart attack because some 6th-round guy failed his medicals, and they got to get a new guy out there. And all of a sudden,
visa problems, or he's 10 pounds overweight. There's always something.
And their night's plans goes right out the window. It's often very, very frustrating to be able to find somebody on short notice. It's a very difficult process. That's why I think that Saddam Ali, I thought it was very interesting that he came out of the gate trying to, in essence, be his own promoter.
Well, also, you mentioned the matchmaking. Javier Razo helps out Robert Diaz with Golden Boy. I've seen him at times where we go somewhere, and he turns on his phone, and it's, and it's the fighter who, I missed my flight. I got the flu all of a sudden. And he's not a TV guy, but it'll be the undercard, and by the commission, you have to have a certain amount of rounds to have a show.
Beto, last week there was a bright young prospect that fought at the Forum. His name is Ryan Bluechip Martin. Now, he was supposed to fight an opponent, and I'd say about 72 hours before the fight, they didn't know if he was going to fight or not because the original opponent got to LAX and was turned away at customs. So those are the type of things that you will face on a regular basis at this 6- and 8-round level.
Doug, we didn't have that. We had that fight once, right? Steve Claggett.
Yeah, absolutely.
Canadian was supposed to fight Alan Sanchez. We were in Salinas a year ago.
The day before the fights, we were doing fighter interviews with them after the weigh-in, and it was news to us. We still thought that Claggett was fighting in the main event. They're like, no, Glad gets trapped in Canada. Yeah, right.
In customs purgatory, that's where he was
right.
at. And it's like, and then they still found Sanchez in a point. It's nothing you. Well, we just saw this recently. Golden Boy, young fighter, Conde Gomez, Cesar Gomez, San Diego.
All set to fight.
He actually weighed in.
Yeah.
The opponent didn't pass. So it's just a tough business. So that's something you don't ever want to get into, the world of matchmaking. Good luck to those of you that do it. You guys do a great job doing it. Right now we're watching Saddam Ali, Brooklyn, New York, 2008 Olympian. He's 27 years old. He takes on Saul Corral, Agua Prieta, Mexico, 10 rounds in the welterweight division.
And his technique is just so on point. I like watching him work these mitts, even though this is a light workout. You see his footwork, you see his hand-eye coordination, see the way he pivots and pirouettes and just maneuvers around his mitt man now. But in the fight time, it's an opponent throwing punches at him, and he does it so well. He's so smooth and fluid with everything.
Bringing in the Golden Boy matchmaker is Roberto Diaz, a big San Francisco Giants fan. You don't have to put your glasses on right now. We don't. You can't see us from here? Oh.
Beto!
And I'm not a heavyweight right now. I know you're looking for a heavyweight. But we were talking about the matchmaking and how hard it is to do. Okay, you can put Canelo, Liam Smith, you know these guys. But once we go in the undercards, how hard is it to keep these young kids with an opponent? As we mentioned it, you've taught us, guys don't get on planes. So all of a sudden guys have the flu or guys get sick. How hard is your job?
Well, I'm not just saying because it is a hard job for real, for any matchmaker. Not I mean, obviously for me, but for any matchmaker. I came from LA yesterday, and when I landed here in Dallas, I get the news that Tanahara's opponent had withdrawn with an injury. All the fights are important for our guys to fight. The hardest thing to do as a matchmaker is actually going to the team and saying you're not fighting because I couldn't find you an opponent. I take that very personal.
So Tanahara's not fighting?
But for Tanahara not to fight in his first fight in Texas, this kid, 6-0, has never fought in Texas. He has a lot of people coming. It was very important. But if you see, Thomas Smith is out. Last night, I was able to get Eric Anton. This morning, the commission tells me, you know what? We cannot approve Eric Anton.
Oh.
So back on the phones. And he's fighting a guy with not such a nice record, has a lot of experience. But the most important thing, like I told Hector, he's going to be 4 rounds against a kid named Roy Garcia. And the most important thing is that he can fight in front of his family, his friends, and his Texan people.
Well, Hector Tanahara, 6-0 from San Antonio, Texas. All of his fights have been in California, one in Las Vegas. You sell the tickets, you have everybody coming up, and that's also something as a matchmaker, you take that personal because you want to make sure, you want to get these guys the experience all this.
I want to get them to fight at home because it means so much to now fight at home, especially on a stage like this. It's exciting for them to be fighting at the Dallas Cowboy Stadium. I mean, who knows when that opportunity can come by again, and it's very important. So Hector, Virgil, they will be on the Freeview along with Saddam Ali, and then we'll go into the pay-per-view. So, yes, I mean, sometimes these 4 or 6 rounders, those are the ones that foul the most. Doug, these guys are fighting for a couple $1,000s, so you don't have the most responsible opponent. Sometimes I'm not going to make weight. I don't want to call and tell them.
Yeah.
I just won't show. I just won't show. And
yeah, sometimes they are maybe 15, 20 pounds overweight, but they tell you, oh, I'm about 10 pounds off. I can 2 weeks, I can do it.
Weight.
Yeah, I can do it.
And as it comes close, they realize,
no, I can't.
hey, I bit off more than I literally bit off more than I can chew. So you know what? Let me just call and say I got hurt in sparring.
Right.
Let's go, the boy matchmaker Roberto Diaz, one of the best in the business. Actually, you just won an award. I'm not going to name all your awards, but congratulations on the award you won from one of the sanctioning bodies. When you sign young fighters, right here, everybody's watching right now is going to say, I can fight, I can do this. Roberto, look for me. When people tell you I have a fighter, what do you look for when you sign somebody?
There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent all over the world. I mean, in the States. But it's not just, obviously the most important thing is can they fight? That's what's going to keep you going. But I look outside. Do they connect with the fans? Do they have that, personality, that little extra? Not just can they fight. I want to see the whole package. I don't want to see a world champion. I want to see a superstar. And I think with a lot of the young kids that you're going to see on the card, on the undercard, that's one of the reasons they're on, is there's the potential of tomorrow's world champions, but also tomorrow's stars.
Some of the kids, you mentioned Hector Tanahara, Virgil Ortiz. How excited are you for the, Doug mentioned it where President Eric Gomez said, we don't really need to go after some of these Olympians that are coming out because you have your own stable of guys who probably could have been Olympians.
You know, a lot of the young kids that we've seen on the Estrella right now coming up, one that comes to mind, Genaro Gomez, you know, there's something about the kid. There's something there that he brings this, as he's walking out to the ring, something special. He could have been an Olympian. There's Virgil Ortiz, Tanahara, all these kids. But now with the changes and the no headgear and the possibility of starting getting cut and the scar tissue and everything at such a tender age, right before the pros, without that money, is it really worth the risk? And a lot of the fathers or coaches said, you know what, let's just go pro. I think we do have a very, very special crop of fighters coming up and young fighters and future world champions.
And you know what's important is these young fighters have the right people guiding them and training them. So there's also young up-and-coming trainers like Manny Robles Jr., Robert Garcia,
Joel
Diaz.
He's in his 40s.
The folks, the guys with the Lamont Roach Sr. and
Yes.
the No
Excuse.
Excuses
Yes, the No
Boxing
Excuse.
Club. Is it Bernard Roach?
Yeah, Bernard Roach,
Lamont
and Lamont
Bernard.
Sr.
Yeah, those. I mean, see, and these guys are up and coming as trainers. They're not like Freddie Roach level yet, but they're on their way.
They're
and they
hungry.
know. Yeah,
They're hungry. They want to make a name for themselves as well.
Yeah.
Coach Kelly with Zachary Ochoa.
Yep.
You know, all these guys, they want to go out there and say, look, I'm here too. Because there's the most famous, and then there's a lot of very good coaches out there that are getting there.
The main event on Saturday, Canelo Alvarez, Liam Smith. What do you expect in that one?
Look, I mean, right now, I'm going to sound like the promoter, but I do expect it. I know we're going to get it. Fireworks while it lasts. Liam Smith is undefeated. He's a world champion. He wants to make a name for himself. How do you do that? You beat the superstar of boxing, Canelo Alvarez. He comes away with a victory. He's a hero back home, and he's going to be a star here. He has a big task, obviously, but nothing's impossible. Mike Tyson got stopped by Buster Douglas. Sugar Ray Leonard beat
Smith
Hagler.
is not going to hand that WBO title to Canelo. He's not going to do that.
Exactly.
Like I said earlier, UK boxing is at an all-time high. There's so much pride. They have so much pride that they have so many major world title holders. They don't want to lose it. They really don't. It means so much, and it's bigger than themselves and their own boxing club. It's about their entire country.
They're fighting for a country, and in Canelo, you have another
always like
fighter fighting for a country. You know, it's not just, oh, I'm fighting for me or for my family.
Right.
They have a country behind them. That gives them that extra motivation, that extra push. We're going to have fireworks while it lasts. And I say while it lasts because at the end of the day, I think Canelo, his level, his talent, and everything will surpass what Liam's heart can provide.
Last one for you, Joseph Diaz Jr., Diego De La Hoya making their pay-per-view debuts. You got to smile. Usually, guys you brought up from the club shows, now they're pay-per-view. Como que un padre, you have orgullo for these guys, right?
You know what? That's what makes the job worthwhile. Losing the opponents, having sleepless nights, you know, pulling the hair, growing the white on the
It's very distinguished, though.
All of a sudden, most interesting matchmaker in the world.
This is, at the end of the day, what makes it all worthwhile. We got Diego De La Hoya as a pro debut, Joseph Diaz as a pro debut, and today, on Saturday night, they'll be on their pay-per-view.
And they'll be in tough, too.
They'll be in exactly.
They'll be
They're
good
both
fights.
in they're probably their toughest fights to date.
I think definitely.
Yep. But they're not just fighting on any network that fans don't know. This is pay-per-view. This is the biggest stage. They're fighting at Dallas Stadium, Cowboy. Now, the world's going to know who these two kids are. Obviously, they need to win. But if they win, sky's the limit.
HBO pay-per-view on Saturday. Also, if you're a cord cutter, you can go to Golden Boy pay-per-view and get that pay-per-view to check out tomorrow's superstars, as Roberto Diaz calls them. Roberto Diaz, Golden Boy matchmaker. We'll be back with more in Dallas, Texas on Ring TV.
Los cinturones aquí se hacen a un lado. Hay que pelear por honor y por gloria nada más.
I've got to style like your length, you know, there's no messing about.
At the Media Center, Canelo Smith Week, and it is brought to you by Adriana's Insurance, the insurance you need at a price you can afford. Go to Adriana's Insurance for your quote today. Joined now by 2008 Olympian Saddam Ali, 22-1, 13 KOs. How cool was just this environment, man?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I can tell we're going to have so much people out there at the fight, and it's going to be electrifying.
You're coming off a loss to Jesse Vargas. How has this camp been for you?
Oh, it's been great. It's time to come back. You know, sometimes you got bumps in the road, and you just learn from them. And I'm just ready to come back strong.
We talked about inactivity in your career. We're looking at your record, and we noticed, okay, 2012, you only fought twice. 2013, you only fought twice. 2015, just last year, you looked great against Francisco Santana, one of the toughest cats out there at welterweight. But that was your only fight last year. Was that a factor? Was inactivity, particularly the inactivity in 2015, did that have a factor in the fight with Jesse Vargas?
I believe it played a part. I'd be lying if I say no. I always think I'll be good, regardless of the big lapse between the fights. But I take nothing away. I should have still won that fight. You know, just sometimes it just doesn't happen for you, and for there it didn't. Just back to the drawing board.
You're a boxer. You rely on hand-eye, foot-eye coordination, your timing.
Right.
I mean, timing is everything for a boxer who likes to operate on the outside. Is activity more important to you than somebody like a Francisco Santana who's like strong, just going to come forward and ball a guy?
Well, you have different types of fighters. You have fighters that are going to come in. You got fighters that are going to move. You know, I'm one of those fighters that can actually do both. You just got to know when to do it.
That's true.
Saddam Ali, Brooklyn, New York. You can check him out on the free view Saturday from AT&T Stadium. You can still go to goldenboypayperview.com to get the pay-per-view. You can hear the Colonel Bob Sheridan and Larry Merchant, Hall of Famers, going and describing the action. For the people who have never seen you fight, though, what is your style?
My style, I would say, is mixy. It depends on that night. It depends on what's working and what's not. Like I said, I'm the type of fighter that has power and also has speed. I can come forward, or I can give you the move around. I can do it all. But I'm not a boring fighter. I like to be.
No, you're not boring.
Yeah.
I know that.
I like to be exciting. You know, sometimes it could put people in danger. You know, to
you keep
fight
the announcers
like
on your toes, man. Your last, I was like, okay, all right. You always got to keep an eye on what Saddam Ali is doing. He takes on Saul Corral, Agua Prieta, Mexico, 21-7. It'll be a good bounce back fight for you. What do you expect?
Right. Well, he is Mexican, so you know he's tough. So he's gonna be coming forward, I would guess. You know, but I'm ready. You know, I've been in training camp, and this is my comeback fight, and I'm ready to prove that I'm still to be reckoned with.
Being a combat fight, is there anything in particular that you want to display in this comeback fight? Is there anything that you wanted that you've been working on based on your last fight, going into this fight, that you want to improve on or showcase?
I just want to prove, if there's people out there that think I'm not great, you know, I want to prove that I am great, and sometimes you just, everything doesn't go your way, and I just want to show that I can still be one of the best.
Feel like you have to put on a show to shut some people up?
I don't feel like I have to, but
you're going to.
I would like to. You know, so that's the plan.
Saddam Ali, look, they're watching you back home right there. All the Yemen fans, all the people from Brooklyn, you got to take care of them. Send your shout-outs out, man.
Yeah, I mean, to all my fans. I got all fans. That's why I'm the World Kid Ali. No race, no color, it doesn't matter. Everybody. And I'm just a humble guy. You know, people love me, and that's what I love about myself. This is not an act. This is just the way I am. But I'm a fighter, you know, and it's either me or you. So we got to fight. But I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, everybody who supports me, and just be ready for Saturday night. It's going to be a great night.
What's your social media, man? You got to plug that.
Oh, yeah, social media. Yeah. The Instagram is the World Kid Ali, and Twitter is Real World Kid Ali.
Saddam Ali, check him out Saturday on ringtv.com. Good luck to you, man. Go take some pictures, man. The fans are waiting for you out here.
Selfies are waiting.
You're World Kid, right? You take pictures with everybody.
Everybody.
Hector Tanajada, the fighter from San Antonio, Texas, 19 years old, is making his way in to the media center.